All right. What's happening, everyone? Hey, it's Troy Sage. It is the 3rd of April, and spring market is upon us. I mean, soon as the weather gets nice here in Dallas, people start coming out, and not only for real estate, but for a lot of things. So, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home this year, whether it's in the spring market or soon to be in the summer market, because it'll be here sooner than later, this video, we're going to go over what's happening in the market and are we seeing a crash or are we seeing what's called the seasonality of the normal real estate market here in North Dallas, Texas. So if we haven't met yet, I'm Troy Sage, local realtor. I'm dedicated to doing real estate differently. And what I want to show you is exactly what's going on in real estate in the North Dallas, Texas area. So my main areas of practice are Frisco, Prosper, Salina. I do travel outside of that area. I've sold and listed homes in Sanger, in Gainesville, Sherman, Denison, so anything in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But for the sake of this video, I want to show you, the viewer, what's happening right now in this area of Frisco, Salina, and Prosper. So those of you that are out of state that are watching this video, maybe you're from California and we've worked together there, or Arizona, we've worked together there. I can tell you that in Texas, there truly is a seasonality. So normally what happens is that during the late fall and early winter, the market shifts into a different kind of market because we get colder weather here. And people are very, very tuned into their families and their kids, and they don't want to move their children unless they have to during the school year. So let's dive into some numbers. I want to show you actual numbers of what's happening. Here's something else. If you don't know me, understand this, that I am never going to give you some third-party algorithm. We're not going to guess what's going on in the market. I'm going to show you exactly what's going on in the market. So let's see if I can share the screen here and let's dive into this. So what you're seeing right now is the average sales price in Frisco and Salina and in Prosper. So if we go back to last year around this time, you're going to see that prices were slightly different than they are today. So in December 23, we hit here. In January 24, they dropped. In February 24, they dropped even more. I mean, look at this. The average sales price in Frisco was $729, Salina was $653, and Prosper was $891. And then as you see, when we start getting into March and then April, prices started to drop a little bit more. Not much, but a little bit more. And then here in May, they absolutely increased once again. So you can see, if you're following me for the first time, as soon as we hit the spring market, we hit May, and then we get into June, and it stays really strong. And then, July, it starts to teeter down a little bit, and then we get back into September, and it becomes a little bit more stagnant. Now, when I say stagnant, I don't mean that people aren't selling their homes. I'm saying you can see that there's a mad rush during the spring. So if you're selling your home or thinking about selling your home, stay with me in this broadcast because I'm going to explain to you what you need to do to get top dollar. And I know that you hear that all the time from realtors, but how to get the most money out of your property during a more competitive market. And let me show you what I mean by competitive market. Let's go to days on market here. And our days on market, you'll see last year when we hit, January 24, and then we hit May, it dropped. Frisco was 31, Prosper was 42, Salina was 38. Let's look at where we're at today. Today, we have more days on market. So Frisco's at 56 from 31 of, May of 24. We just go to April, it's 27. Right now, we're at 56. We're at 76, and we're at 80. So again, let's go back. So we're at 27, 52, and 57. So what we're seeing is that the homes are sitting on the market over 43% more time during this time of the year right now compared to last year. This has to do with there's more builder inventory and more people are putting their homes on the market. We're going to talk about that here a little bit more in this video about who's selling and who isn't selling. But days on market are more. So as a buyer, you absolutely have more opportunities. Now, if you want real quick videos on what's happening in the market or what buyers can expect, check out some of my other videos here on YouTube because I do much quicker videos. But right now, I really want to dive deep into these numbers. So let me move on to the overall listing price. Let's look at what's happening with the listing prices of properties right now. When we go back to April of 24, the median list price in Frisco was $750,000, Salina was $650,000, and Prosper was $947,000. That's the median. When we go to the average original list price, let me get back here into April, it was $919,000, $783,000, and over $1 million in Prosper. Let's look at today. In Prosper today, it's $956,000. In Salina, it's $720,000. And in Frisco, it's $936,000. So let me explain these differences, and we're going to talk about a crash or what people may perceive as a crash. Is that the average price of homes that are currently listed are all of the homes, and they just simply put an average together. But the median, which is the meat and potatoes of what's going on in the market, we take out the huge multi-million-dollar estates and we take out the lowest price homes. We find stuff that's right in the middle, just the medium price homes, and that is holding pretty steady. Let's go back to that and let's share it again, because when we look at the median price, right now we're looking at $763 in Frisco, $639 in Salina, and $885 in Prosper. And we go back last year in April, $750, $650, $947. So has it dropped? It absolutely has. As a matter of fact, in Prosper, it's dropped 5.4%. In Salina, it's dropped 13%. But look here, what's interesting in Frisco, it's increased 9%. So why has it increased 9%? Well, Frisco is really a hotspot. There are people moving here. As of last year, it was 12 people every hour were registering as residents and moving to Frisco, Texas. And they've got great schools, and there's low crime, and there's a lot to do. Sports City, USA. There's a ton to do in Frisco. A lot of families have moved to Frisco. Why has Salina dropped 13%? Because Salina is the path of progress, and the builders have slowed down. They just don't have the workers. They just don't have the supplies. There's lots of reasons behind this, but the prices have dropped because, number one, builders have slowed down, and number two, because people just can't get in and there's not a lot of homes available. What we're finding in Salina right now is that most of the homes that are available are older, and some are actually overpriced. So they're just kind of sitting there. Prosper's dropped 5.4%. That is an indication for all the areas except for Frisco that we're looking at a decline in the market. So we've talked about days on market. I mean, we look at days on market right now, it's 56 days in Frisco, it's 76 days in Salina, and 80 days in Prosper. But are we actually looking at a crash? Well, one indicator of that is the actual months of supply. So rule of thumb is when there's 9 months of supply, roughly, we are in an absolute buyer's market. When we're about 6 months in supply, we're in what's called a stable market. So let's take a look at our graphs here. And again, this is straight from the multiple listing service. According to our graphs right now, that we have a 4-month supply of homes available in Frisco, and almost a 6-month supply in Salina, and a 5-month supply in Prosper. So this is up substantially over the last 3 years. Even if we go back last year, you're going to see that we didn't have nearly as much. Look at April last year, we had a 3-month supply. So what was happening is that we were seriously looking at a market that was more stable than it is today. Now, what does this mean by month supply. It means if no one else lists their property for sale, it will take us in Frisco 4 months to sell every property that's currently available. It will take us 5.9 months to sell everything that's currently available in Salina, and it will take us 5 months to sell everything in Prosper. So do you think that more people are going to list their home? Yeah, I think definitely more people are going to list their home. We're seeing more listings coming on the market. We're also seeing more properties expire, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in this video. And we're seeing price reductions. So if you're a buyer, I want to speak directly to buyers right now. The key for you is you have a lot more options. And having these options gives you a little bit more negotiation power. As a matter of fact, in 2020 through 22, even into 23, buyers didn't have a lot of options. There were times that buyers were spending, up to 20% more than appraised value just to buy a property. So those days are long gone. So now as a buyer, you have way more options when it comes to finding a home, finding a seller that's willing to negotiate, and being a lot more picky about what you want. So as buyers, my recommendation is to look at the area you want to be in, think about the schools, think about the crime, think about the size and the kind of house you want and what neighborhood you want to be in. In all three of these towns and cities, they have different neighborhoods throughout. So different neighborhoods have different amenities. They have different proximity to shopping and to the freeways. So you can really slow down as a buyer and make sure that you're finding something that suits what you and your family and your budget can afford. Something else for buyers to think about, and I've had a few buyers in the past couple weeks work with me that, they're looking, they're not sure because of interest rates, or there's other ways around the crunch of the interest rate. I mean, actually, interest rates have come down a little bit, but we're not expecting them. I'm personally, this is an opinion, I'm not expecting the rates to tank. I don't think we're going to see 3.5% or 4%. I think we're going to see interest rates this year in the low to mid sixes. They might come down to the high fives, but I doubt it. Now, that being said, I wouldn't worry about that because new construction is offering buy downs, and so are resale sellers offering buy downs. For example, the 2-1 buy down. If you want an in-depth explanation of the 2-1 buy down, check out my other video on YouTube. But in a nutshell, the 2-1 buy down actually gets you a lower rate. So as a buyer, when you're driving around town, you're looking on the internet and a new construction ad says, we'll get you in this property for 4.9% or 4.75%. Most of the time, not necessarily every time, but most of the time, what the builder is doing is they're paying for a 2-1 buy down to get you in at a lower rate, and it'll eventually go to today's rate or whatever rate that you're locked into. Now, all that information being said is if you're thinking about purchasing a home, think about, again, where you want to be, what you want, and what your budget is. My suggestion is make sure that you qualify. Number one, you have to be qualified at today's rate. But number two, you're comfortable at the payment for today's rate, no matter if you're going to do a buy down or not. Because what you don't want to be is you don't want to be house poor in any kind of market, especially in a market that's indicating we're looking at a crash. And a crash could be 1%, it could be 20%, it could be 30%. I've been around for quite some time, so I was there in 2008 when the market crashed and helped people avoid short sale or avoid foreclosures via short sale. So this being said, as a buyer, make sure you like the location and you're totally comfortable with the payment no matter what the interest rate is, because eventually it will go there. And I know some people will argue this with me, and I'll get nasty comments saying, Troy, you don't know what you're talking about because I can do a buy down right now, and during this buy down, I'm going to pay 2% less, and I'm going to be a betting person and bet that the rates come down to 4.5% or 5%, and I can refinance whenever I want. You're totally correct. But I'm saying to be cautious. In a market like this, it's time to be cautious. If you're going to buy it in today's market, make sure you can afford today's rate, and look at the lower rates as kind of a bonus to get you in the property. So, are we seeing a crash? We are definitely seeing a major adjustment. Now, the true indicator is going to be at the end of April and the beginning of May to see what happens with sales and with inventory, because that is when people really start to push the go button to purchase a home. They want to get their kids established in the new home and get them in the schools before school starts the next year. So our true indicator is going to be in May. But as of right now, we're seeing a lot of inventory. I want to speak directly to sellers at this part of the video. Is if you're thinking about selling, there are things that you have got to do to make sure that people, number one, see your home, and number two, write an offer on your property. So if you follow me, you've heard me say this before. The days of putting your property in the MLS, putting a sign in the front yard, and praying for a buyer, those days are long gone. And I don't think they're coming back. With technology the way it is, with everything all the tools that you can use to actually get your home sold. If you're working with a realtor, and hopefully you are, because for sale by owners right now are having a really hard time. If you're working with a realtor, you need to make sure that professional is doing more than the 3 Ps, putting in the MLS, placing a sign in the front yard, and praying for a buyer. You've got to make sure that they have a digital marketing program in place, that they are giving you maximum exposure to your product, which is your house. Now, if you want information about that, feel free to look in the description below. You can reach out to me, and I actually have a packet that you can take a look at how we market homes. And if you're going to use another realtor, by all means, make sure that they are doing something similar. So you have to have great marketing. Now, all the marketing in the world isn't going to save you from disaster if your home isn't totally prepared. So one of the things I recommend to the sellers I work with is let's go look at new construction, and let's go look at your competition. And I say this because you have to outshine your competition. Buyers right now have a role reversal, meaning during the days of COVID and everything that went on during the pandemic, we had to suit up, and people didn't really care what the home looked like inside. They just needed to buy a house. Now buyers are taking their time. So you've got to look at your clutter, your personalization of your home. You got to depersonalize everything, and you've got to make the home look as nice as it possibly can. Here's one thing. I had a conversation with a seller just last week, and I said, here's what we're looking at. You have a nice product, but let's compare it to cars. And since I'm originally from Detroit, it's easy to compare. If you're selling a used car that has just been freshly detailed with new tires and a fresh oil change, and you park an identical car next to it that has old beat up tires and it hasn't been washed and it's hard to start, but it's still going to work, which one's going to sell faster and for more money? Think about it. It's the same thing with a house. You may have painted your home a specific color because you like those colors, but you really have to neutralize everything in the house. So get rid of all your personal items. You have to make sure the paint looks good and it's not dark. And when you are staging your property, you've got to make sure that the buyer feels like they could live in that home. So there's a lot of things that you need to do as a seller, but number one, make sure presentation is right. Also make sure whoever you're working with is actually doing some kind of marketing besides putting the MLS. And really important right now in the market, as you can see for days on market, you have to price your home aggressively. The days of putting your home on the market for $10,000, $15,000 more than what the neighbor just sold for, that is going to be a really rough sell. That is going to be a really rough sell because buyers have a lot to choose from. So when they look at your home, they're normally looking in a $10,000 to $20,000 price differential between what they can afford and what they're more comfortable with down below. If you price your home a little bit too high in your particular neighborhood, you're not going to get foot traffic. When you don't get foot traffic, nobody can see the property and nobody's going to fall in love with it and no one's going to write offers. Then the kiss of death is you start chasing the market in price reduction after price reduction after price reduction. Now, I am talking in general because there are specific cases where maybe you're in a neighborhood where your home is only 2 years old and they're still building properties. Now, the key there is making sure that you're competitive against the builder, who is truly your competitor. And it's kind of funny because the builder was your friend when they were building the home. Now, the builder is your competition. And we're seeing builders advertise really insane pricing. And what buyers don't understand, so if you're a buyer, tune back in here right now. If you're a buyer, when a builder says home starting at $450,000, understand that some builders are not including the lot premium for the land. They're not including the upgrades. They're not including anything. That is your base house. So if they're saying they're starting at $450,000, that's for the dwelling itself. And there's most likely, and I don't want to give a percentage, but almost all the time, there's a lot premium added to that. So your 450 just went to 500. If there's a home available in that same neighborhood for 500 or a little bit more that has a ton of upgrades, I want you to compare the pricing between the two. Do you want to buy a home that's 2 years old that still has a lot of the warranties with it? Plus, you can ask for a home warranty anyways from the seller and get a better deal financially, or do you want to go through the builder, and then when you get your bottom line from the builder, what is that number actually going to be? And I'll share the story with you real quick. I've got a property for sale right now that's in that position, and the builder's advertising a lower price than where we're at, but I had someone call me and say, I just looked at this home with the builder, and it was almost $100,000 more than what you're offering your property at. What's the difference? And honestly, there was no difference. So as a buyer, you've got to run these numbers. You've got to see if you're looking at new construction. If you're a buyer or a seller, you have to know where this property compares with the other properties in the neighborhood. And this last thing I want to talk about in regards to a possible crash is appraisals. So for those of you that have never purchased a home, an appraisal is a neutral third party that actually gives value, does a study, goes out and compares currently listed homes and, more importantly, currently sold homes within the last 90 days or less within a mile of your property, preferably in the same community that the property that you're looking to purchase is in. They're going to compare and see what is the trend. Right now we have a lot of days on market. And what is the amenities or what are the upgrades in the subject property? So appraisals are coming in tight and they're starting to come in lower because the market is slowing way down. It has slowed way down. Again, our big indicator is going to be next month, and I'll continue to do these live videos so you guys know what's going on with the market. And also, obviously, watch my other videos on YouTube because I upload videos every week with something to do with real estate. So in regards to this crash, could it happen? It absolutely can happen. What's going to save the North Dallas, Texas area from a major crash is the fact that we have so many people moving here, and there's a lot of work here, and schools are great here. Okay? Weather, on the other hand, it's not my favorite. Not from living in several different states, not my favorite. But I tell you, I love Texas. I love North Dallas, Texas. The people are great. Schools are good. Everything is really convenient for me right here. So I love Texas, but we could be seeing a crash. We are on the verge of a crash. The only thing saving us is the people moving here. There's a lot of people moving here. So as a seller, if you're thinking about selling, please determine, do you need to sell or do you just want to sell? If you just want to sell, now may not be the time. And I'll be blunt about this. If you just want to sell to see if it can get sold, all you're really doing is bogging down the market. Because more times than not, the sellers I talk to are going, yeah, I'd like to sell. And then they price it way up here. All they're doing is they're wasting their time. They're wasting the realtor's time. They're wasting the buyer's time because they're not going to come down below this price, even if they're at the top of what the market's doing right now. So the people are selling right now. For buyers and for sellers to know what's going on and what your competition is the people that are selling are the ones that really need to sell. People that have been relocated, people that had a death in the family, families that are growing, that are having more babies and they need a bigger home, empty nesters, those that have retired, individuals that are in those positions that are on a need to sell basis. For buyers, those are going to be the properties you really want to look at. I'm not saying you're getting a better deal, but I'm going to say that they're going to be priced more realistic and there's going to be real negotiations there. Again, those that are just testing the market and thinking about selling and they're pricing super, super high, that's just adding to our inventory and it's adding to our days on market. And it's your house just most likely is not going to sell. So that's where our market is right now. Is the market going to crash? I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. If I did, we'd all be multi-billionaires and we would know exactly what's going on in real estate and we'd be buying and selling right at the exact same time. It's like the stock market. We just don't know. I think that we are headed towards a major adjustment. We're going to really know more in May, but we're already seeing the adjustment with the inventory that has increased so much, with the days on market that have increased, and prices right now are holding steady or dipping a little bit. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think we're heading for a crash? Let me know if you have any insight that I may not have in all of my years of selling real estate and looking at the trends in our multiple listing service. What do you think is going to happen in the market? Leave a comment down below or reach out to me. By the way, those of you that follow me, I want to say thank you for all my followers and understand that I do respond personally to every comment and every email that gets sent to me. So there's no AI involved and I don't send it off to any assistant. I respond to every single post and every single email that comes to me. So if you have any questions about real estate, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help you in any situation in which you're in. If you want to stay current on everything real estate and all the stuff that I upload, click subscribe and the bell, and you'll be alerted every time I upload another video. And besides that, my friends, we'll keep our eye on the market, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye for now.